G'day, guys. This is part 4,678 Triangazine. Let's try this. King Billy Coke bottle. Let's roll.
Father Coke bottle said, I'm happy. I've been told I can have sex at 85. I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, well, there was this card in my letterbox that said you can have sex at 85, which is great because I live at number 76. It's not all that far to walk. Cousin Albert's in trouble. I said, what now? He said, I saw this raghead driving a truck clearly marked explosives, so I ran him off the road, beat him senseless with a wheel brace, and now the police want to charge me with an attempted murder. Apparently TNT is a parcel delivery company. The cop come to see Morton. I said, we've had a complaint. Your dog's chasing people on push bike. Oh, I said, oh, fuck off. He doesn't even own a push bike. Apparently this happened, according to Morton, that Nigeria was eliminated from the World Cup. The goalkeeper personally offered fans to refund their expenses. All they need to do is supply the bank and PIN details and to complete the transaction. Morton went for a job as a wine taster, in the Brocker Valley. I think it was at that Peter Lehman Wines, Anyway, Dougie Lehman, he knew Morton, and he said at least he'd give him an interview, and the interview went a bit like this, Anyway, he said, all right, you better taste this here and tell us what you think of it, He said, that's a muscat, 3 years old, grown on the North Slope, in large old barrels, low grade but acceptable. Anyway, Dougie said, yeah, that's right. Try this one. He said, that's a Cabernet, 8 years old, southwestern slope, new oak barrels, matured about 8 degrees, requires about 3 more years for the finest results. He said, correct. Third glass, was a non-vintage Pinot champagne. Pinot, well, a big word anyway, high grade, exclusively champagne type thing. Morton was, had the director astonished, He said, oh, well, second series that she left the room and came back with a glass of urine, Morton said, it's a blonde, 26 years old, 3 months pregnant, and if you don't give me a job, he said, I'll name the father. Morton and me went camping, and Morton said, hey, Billy, isn't it beautiful sleeping under the stars? I think that's Pluto over there, Billy. And I think that's the Milky Way. And I think that's the Southern Cross. What are you thinking, Billy? I said, I'm thinking I'd like to kill the bastard who pinched their bloody tent. Yeah, Morton and Jittigan, they went to the shopping at Woolies. Anyway, they went through the liquor store part, of Woolies there, and Morton stopped to pick up a carton of 4X and put it in his trolley. Jittigan said, what are you doing, Morton? He said, it's only $20. He said, a carton. She said, put them back, we can't afford them. Inside, Jittigan picks up a jar of this face cream. Morton said, what are you doing? She said, I'm making myself beautiful. Morton said, well, that's funny. He said, that carton of 4X would have done that for half the price. You'll be at hospital next week sometime. Morton went to church, and the priest said, what are you here for, sonny? He said, it's my hearing. He said, I told the congregation it's his hearing, so they put their hands on his head and they prayed and prayed and prayed, and then the priest said, right, how's your hearing now? Morton said, I don't know. He said, it's not being heard in court until next week. Albert went to a party the other day. He snuck into the bedroom and he swapped the women's tampons in there for a bag of party poppers. Now they're not happy. Morton was a ventriloquist, with the people, with the dummies, and he's talking. Anyway, he was touring in the country, and doing this small town with a dummy on his knee, and he started doing his usual blonde jokes, Anyway, this blonde woman in the fourth row, she stood up on a chair and started shouting, I've heard enough of your stupid blonde jokes. What makes you think you can stereotype women that way? What makes the colour of a woman's hair have to do with her worth as a human being? There's guys like you that keep women like me from being respected at work and the community from reaching our full potential as a person because you and your kind continue to perpetuate discrimination against not only blondes but women in general, and all in the name of humour. Morton begins to apologise, and the blonde says, "Hey, you stay out of this. I'm talking to that little bloke sitting on your knee." Yeah, after being married for about 30 years, Morton asked her husband, to describe her and said, "What do you think, where would you rate me, Morton?" He said, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. She said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Adorable, beautiful, cute, delightful, elegant, foxy, gorgeous, hot." Oh, she said, "That's lovely. What about the IJK then?" He said, "I was just kidding. Yeah, he'll be at the hospital next week when he can see again." Yeah, Morton took Gilligan to a disco, and anyway, they see this bloke break dancing and moonwalking and back flips on the dance floor, and Gilligan turned to Morton, "See that guy there? Well, 30 years ago, he proposed to me, but I turned him down." Morton said, "Yeah, looks like he's still celebrating." Gilligan, with the way the things are in the world now, Gilligan texts Morton, "Gee, it's cold, windows frozen." Morton texts us back, he said, "Pour some warm water over them." Gilligan texts us back, "Now the computer's completely fucked." Colin Goddard was making love to this woman all night, and laying back and getting his breath. He noticed a photo of a bloke next to the bed. He said, "Who's that? Your husband?" "No." "Your boyfriend?" "No." He said, "Well, who is it then?" He said, "Well, it was me before I had the operation."
Oh, no.
If you can't afford or get a doctor's appointment, here's the answer. Go to the airport and you get a free x-ray, a breast examination, and if you mention Al-Qaeda, they'll even give you a free colonoscopy. Morton disappeared at work, and he came back an hour later. He said, "Where you been?" He said, "To get a haircut." The foreman said, "Well, you can't just go for a haircut when you feel like it, not in the boss's time." He said, "Well, it grew in the bloody boss's time." Years ago, Morton walked into this bar, called the George and the Dragon. Anyway, he's pretty drunk, but anyway, bumped into the barmaid and he said, "You're not being served here, you're rotten, get out." Kicked him out, 2 minutes later, he staggered back in. She said, "Now what do you want?" He said, "Is George in by any chance?" Gilligan's been missing for a week now, and the copper said to Morton, "Prepare yourself for the worst." So he's been back to the charity shop to get all the clothes back.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, the government sent Morton a census form, It said, "You didn't answer any of the dependents." He sent it back, and the foreman said, "Yep, asylum seekers, illegal immigrants, dopeheads, unemployed bastards, people on parole, politicians falsely claiming accommodation." Apparently are not all the right answers that they were looking for. I've been working up to Pilbury, for some company called Monos near Tom Price, That's Monos, that's for Monodelphus, anyway. Anyway, really good work, And anyway, got this job, to go and paint a line down the middle of the road, all the way into Tom Price. Anyway, on the first day, they gave me this big 44-gallon drum and a paintbrush, told me to paint the line down the middle of the road. Anyway, I came back, on the first day, and they said, "How'd you go?" I said, 20 kilometres. He said, "Oh, that's not bad." On the second day, they said, "How'd you go today?" I said, 8 kilometres. On the third day, I got back there, and they said, "How'd you go today?" I said, "About 1.5 kilometres." I said, "How come?" He said, "The first day you did 20 kilometres, the second day you did 8 kilometres, and now you're only doing 1.5 kilometres. Oh, he said, "It's a long way to bloody walk back to that 44-gallon drum." There's a new film coming out called Carbon Black. It's our version of Snow White, But the making of the film's caused a bit of a speed up, because the actors, being dwarfs, Morton, his dealer, and then Gibbett's dealer, and Albert carjacker, and Uncle Knock It Off shoplifter, and then there's the drinker and the bludger. But the real problem is got it, is the mugger, and the problem is that they don't want to sing, in the song, because it says hi ho, it's off to work we go. Old Aboriginal sayings: a lion will not cheat on his wife, but a tiger would. A man who wants a pretty nurse must be patient. They're old Aboriginal sayings. I remember years ago, there was this commotion at the middle of the night, The camp was on the outskirts of town, and there was gunshots heard, and the police came out, and they, investigated and found the starter's pistol. Anyway, apparently the police wrote in their inquiry that it was possibly race-related. More than myself dismiss any wrongdoing or any association with our cousin Lofty Coke Bottle. He's named like that because he's 6'8" tall, who apparently or allegedly had broken into our footy club and stole all the Christmas hams. The police said they're now looking for a 6 foot plus hamburglar with a lot. Morton walked into a brothel in Kalgoorlie, drops $500 on the table. The madam there said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want the ugliest woman with a burnt chop." He said, "What kind of money? That's the kind of money you just threw down there. You could have one of my top ladies and a 3-course meal." Maud said, "I'm not horny." He said, "I'm homesick." Cousin Edie, she was cleaning her husband's rifle, not realising it was loaded, and she accidentally set it off and shot a fella Gibbet, Anyway, she rang the cops on 000 and screaming. She said, "I killed him." The operator said, calm down. Check to see if he's actually, dead. Anyway, all of a sudden the operator's listening there, and she heard another bang, and Edie come back on and said, "Yeah, he is now." It's amazing. All these new arrivals, legal or illegal into Australia, don't know the name of their Prime Minister, but they know Walter's name on Deal or No Deal. I remember our witch doctor telling Morton that relative humidity is the sweat that runs down the crack of your arse when you're rooting your sister-in-law.
Oh, no.
I know this is a bit morbid, but Morton and Jittigan were cutting through a cemetery, when they got a bit randy, I suppose, and they were doing the business on a slab. Jittigan said, "Oh, Morton, my back's sore." He said, "I'm not surprised." He said, "Your bum died in 1928. Jittigan was jumping up and down on the bed, squealing. Morton said, "What's up with you?" She said, "Oh, I went to the doctor's yesterday for my checkup, and he said I had the tits of a 16-year-old. He said, 'Well, what did you say about your 60-year-old ass?' He said, 'He didn't mention you, Morton.'" Morton was telling me, a Dreamtime story about this lawyer who arrived at the pearly gates. St. Peter said, "How old are you?" He said, 49. St. Peter said, declined. The lawyer said, "Why?" St. Peter said, "I've added up your timesheets," he said, "and they said you should be 109. Here's a prediction from Morton. He reckons racism will disappear when global warming does its thing. He reckons we'll all be black. This is the difference between men and women. Jittigan didn't come home, one night, and she told Morton she slept over, her girlfriend's house. So Morton called it, 10 best friends, and none of them knew anything about it. So anyway, the next day Morton thought he wouldn't come home, that night. Anyway, he'd come home, and she said, "Where you been?" He said, "Oh, I slept over, one of my buddies' homes, So Jittigan rang around, and 8 of them said that he did sleep there, and 2 of them said he's still there. The recent typhoon that hit the Philippines, well, Morton was on a ferry in the Bay of Manila, and he got washed up on the beach, laying there. This bloke said, "What do you want?" He said, "You want girl?" He said, "No." He said, "You want boy?" He said, "No." He said, "I want the chief of police." He said, "Oh, the chief of police, he's very expensive." Morton said he got a text the other day which said that it's time of the year that I want to catch up with you and screw you. You know it will happen, so don't fight it. Yours always, the Taxation Department. Morton got some good saying. Let's go up to the House of Twisted Faces. You know what that is? It's a TAB. And here's another one. He's one gene from being an orangutan. Morton and me once got involved with this owning of a racehorse. It was unnamed 2-year-old, you know, so we had to choose a name. Morton suggested, why don't we call it My Face? I said, what? Why? He said, well, you can just imagine, you know, all the chickie babes at the finish line there saying, come on my face, come on my face. Cousin Goddard saw the witch doctor and said, Doc, how can I live to be 100? He said, well, give up smoking, drinking, and going out with, you know, oversexed women. Goddard said, well, will I live to be 100? Nope, but he said it'll bloody feel like it. Cousin Albert, you know, he walked into a lingerie shop, I think it was like Victoria's Secrets or something, to purchase a sheer negligee for his wife Mary. Anyway, she showed him, you know, a few possibilities there, you know, around the $250, $500 range. And the more, you know, you could see through them, the higher the price went, you know. Anyway, up for the most sheer item, you know, $500 worth, and took it home. He gave it to Mary and asked her to go upstairs and put it on and model it for him, you know. Anyway, the wife's got an idea, you know. She said, it's so sheer, I might as well wear nothing. So she, I won't put it on. She said, I'll just do it naked, you know, and then I'll take the $500 back and get the money instead. So anyway, she appears naked on the balcony and strikes this pose, you know, and Albert says, good grief, you think for $500 at least iron it. The shop at the funeral apparently is on Tuesday. Police, you know, the police, the coppers and that, so quick these days, eh? Morton rang up, you know, for a cop. He said, hey, somebody just stole my car. The cop said, yeah, I know, my car just recognised the number plate. Morton goes through a stop sign, you know, the cop pulls him over. He said, you went through a stop sign. He said, didn't you see it? He said, yeah, I saw it. He said, I just didn't see you. Morton's wife, Gilligan, said to my wife, Jetta, I think Morton's screwing around. He said, what makes you think that? He said, well, because my last 2 kids don't look anything like him. Cousin Albert was in court, and the judge said, Albert, in my years as a judge, I've seen you here many times, and I've come to the conclusion that grog's causing you to re-offend all the time, and after time, it's grog. Albert, what do you think? He said, thanks. I'll thank you for that, Judge, because all the people have been telling me it was my fault. See you later.
Yeah. That was King Billy Coke Bottle. Just an Aussie dude who likes to take the piss. He's fucking funny. God bless you, tribe. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a bit of a mission. The tribe is strong. This is not safe for work. Oh, probably a bit late to say that. I'll put it in the description. But be good. If you can't be good at it, you know what to do. The tribe is strong. Good douche.